As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Now, if you don't know that line, I suggest you go and watch Goodfellas first, because this video contains spoilers, and that includes Casino, Taxi Driver, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Scorsese is very liberal and creative with voiceover, as his movies often deal with the themes of guilt, redemption, and violence in all forms. Voiceover can be an efficient way to show various perspectives on the matter and reasons for the choices the characters make. For that, he uses 1, 2, sometimes 3 voiceover narrators, and still manages not to cross the fine line of being overbearing. My name is Bart, and I'm with the Truth Tellers, and in this episode I want to tell you how Martin Scorsese builds an intimate relationship between his characters and the audience. So,
come on, fuckos, let's go for a ride.
Let's start by looking at 2 related pictures, Goodfellas and Wolf of Wall Street. Both films are based on autobiographies, and voiceover helps the adapted film stay true to the book and brings out the protagonist's perspective.
What really was important was the nature of the relationship between the main character and the audience. And that's the experiment with voiceover.
Now, right from the character introduction scene, which follow the same pattern,
I always wanted to be a gangster.
My name is Jordan Belfort, not him, me. That's right.
we know it's gonna be their stories. The way Scorsese uses voiceover to let you into the movie is a lot like jumping onto a running train. You are dropped in the middle of the story, but with enough information to follow the plot from that point on, and also develop some opinion on the character leading you in.
Name of the game? Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
Be it colors and calculators or goombas and guns, they're gangsters all the same, and big money is what they're after. Both Henry and Jordan hold disdain for the ordinary people who
Work shitty jobs for bum paychecks.
and use public transportation.
Well, good luck on that subway ride home to your miserable, ugly fucking wives.
Took the subway to work every day. We're dead.
Although we're broke and maybe wouldn't bash your brains out with a baseball bat. Or would he? They both tell stories about some form of an underworld secretive organization only very few people have access to.
We accept them,
And if you're a member of such an organization, rules number 1 and 2 are...
Never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut.
And since you can talk about it, it becomes all the more intriguing. And if a member of such an organization lets you in on some of the secrets, you feel part of their world. It's like taking a ride with your new friends on the back seat of their Brougham DeVille while they turn to you and explain the stuff you couldn't have figured out yourself. Still, you gotta be careful. With his voiceover, Henry Hill turns the film into something of a gangster procedural by explaining the details of how the game works.
We walked out with $420,000 without using a gun, and we did the right thing. We gave Paulie his tribute.
What part everyone plays.
Tootie ran the cab stand and La Bella Vista Pizzeria and a few other places for his brother Paul, who was the boss over everybody in the neighborhood.
And even explaining the language.
You know, we always called each other good fellas. Like you'd say to somebody, you're gonna like this guy, he's all right. He's a good fella, he's one of us.
Something similar happens in The Wolf of Wall Street. So everyone's heard of cocaine, right? But lewds?
Don't know what a loot is? I'll tell you.
Oh, and notice how you do show don't tell, with just voiceover.
Wait. Looks like those lewds are working their magic on Donnie right now.
Jordan's narration is witty.
These little bastards were so strong, I discovered a whole new phase. The cerebral palsy phase.
And very understanding at the same time.
The initial sales price, then sold those shares right back to our friends. Look, I know you're not following what I'm saying anyway, right? That's okay, that doesn't matter.
And while we're at it, this is the fourth wall being broken and amalgamating with voiceover. Pretty much what Henry does in the Goodfellas finale.
When I was broke, I would go out and rob some more. We ran everything.
Scorsese loves to play with the time of the events and the narrator's reference point. Now, by breaking the fourth wall and using voiceover at the same time, you may get the impression that the narrator is no longer Leonardo DiCaprio playing Jordan Belfort, but it's Belfort from the future playing himself in a film about himself. One of the ways Scorsese experiments with voiceover is breaking the so-called narration continuum. Now, how does he do it? Let's take a look at Casino and Joe Pesci's character, Nicky Santoro. Throughout the film, he's one of the main characters and a co-narrator.
I mean, it was still way too hot for me to even go near Vegas.
Out of a sudden, the narrator role is snatched from him and he's torn out of the time perspective he was speaking from.
They don't give a fuck about...
And he's only left as a character, no God mode, in the middle of the heat in the desert. There's no way a viewer can figure out what was going to happen. It's a very subtle trick, risky all the same, but a way to keep your audience surprised. Question: is it difficult to get whacked? Not really, actually it's faster than you can say
blueberry pie.
But how to show how easy it is? Mr. Scorsese has a way. All throughout these 3 scenes, now Henry leads you to believe that Tommy is being made.
Jimmy was so excited you'd think he was being made. To become a member of a crew, you've got to be 100% Italian so they can trace all your relatives back to the old country. See, it's the highest honor they can give you. It means you belong to a family and a crew. It means that nobody can fuck around with you. It also means you could fuck around with anybody just as long as they aren't also a member.
But then... boom. No one saw that one coming. Now, even though you'd like to, you can't rely on everything the narrator tells you. They only seem omniscient, but it's their story, so some facts may get blurry after a while. Now, this scene in Goodfellas is particularly confusing. Long story short, Jimmy decides to whack Maury because he's busting his balls over his cut from the Lufthansa heist. Now, Jimmy asks Henry to set Maury up for him, but Henry doesn't want him to get killed. Suddenly, Jimmy seems to have a change of heart and says,
Forget about tonight. Forget about tonight.
Which Henry comments on,
it was like a load off my mind.
And then...
Poor bastard. Never knew how close he'd come to getting killed. Even if I told him, he would have never believed me.
But later that same night... Alright, let's analyze this. Henry was not there when they whacked Maury, so he might have never known about the hit. It's hard to believe though, because later that same night he talked to Jimmy about it, but we never knew what Jimmy told him.
What the fuck you want me to tell Bill? He gives a fuck, Tom. We ran off with some fraud. What do you care about?
I'd go ahead and say that this part was meant to show how
fast it takes for a guy to get whacked.
That even the omniscient narrator didn't know what was going to happen. As Scorsese immerses you deeper and deeper in the world of the mob, you get very close to them. And also thanks to the voiceover. Such scenes are meant to be as surprising for the viewer as they were for the character. Now, watching Casino may get you all dizzy out of all the lights of Las Vegas, but also the 3 narrators. Sam Rothstein, the casino manager, Nicky Santoro, his mobster friend who becomes king of Las Vegas, and Frankie Marino, his bodyguard. Now, all 3 spin their narrative web and show you the events from 3 different angles, which gives the film an enormously gutsy structure and like a factual, documentary-like quality. Scorsese also uses voiceover to emphasize character development. Now, at the beginning of Goodfellas, Henry speaks with a hint of nostalgia when he's talking about the glorious days of the mafia. But towards the end, he becomes entangled in various businesses, from selling guns to pushing cocaine. He becomes paranoid from all the stress and drugs. Now, to reflect this, Scorsese shows us the famous May 11 in Henry's life with a clock counter as we see him adjust his plan according to the ever-new appearing developments. The abrupt cuts, the quick camera movements, and the voiceover reasoning reflect what it's like to be coked up for days. Now, what do we know about Travis Bickle? We know he's a war veteran.
Marines.
Not a very social type, often takes things literally. And since he can't sleep at night, he decides to drive a cab.
Anytime, anywhere.
Already a good story, but it's just the overlayer. New York's filthy underbelly is reflected by Travis's diary, whose content defines the actual core of the film. It allows you inside Travis's mind, well, at least a little. Already the first entry is the rifle on the wall.
May 10th. Thank God for the rain, which has helped wash away the garbage and the trash off the sidewalks.
Rain, washing, and cleaning become symbols and recurrent themes in Travis's memoir and throughout the film. But there is this famous line that marks the onset of Travis's way down the spiral of his obsession.
They cannot touch her.
Robert De Niro does a great voiceover job here. He talks a little bit indistinctly, possibly to reflect the pills and sleeplessness effects on Travis. Goodfellas left us with such gems as the one-shot mob introduction scene and the likes of
Jimmy Two Times, who got that nickname because he said everything twice, like...
I'm gonna go get the papers.
And honestly, who, after watching Goodfellas, never tried slicing garlic like Paulie? From omniscient to protagonist to an ensemble, sometimes misleading, sometimes changing roles, Martin Scorsese's use of the different forms of voiceover narration is remarkable for the way it leads the story without overloading it, but always adding a different touch. Now let's hear it from the writer of Goodfellas, Nicholas Pileggi.
Voiceover, I think, is the key to that movie. Marty said when he slams the car trunk down and he's looking out, I'm going to freeze frame, and then, as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a gangster. It's very unusual to have a voiceover on a dead screen, except for the guy's face, but it works. A lot of movies go to voiceover almost as a crutch after the fact. Voiceover doesn't work unless you have really great voices over, with the nuance and flavor of the character. I would talk to Henry Hill all the time when we were writing the movie, and all that dialogue is almost verbatim stuff.
That was Jeff, one of the truth tellers, and a friend of mine. And this is my personal favorite use of voiceover.
What I'm asking you, Swiss dick, is are you going to fuck me over?
I understand perfectly, you American shit.
Forget about it. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe for more essays about voiceover narration. And if you're looking for a narrator who can convey the subtext of your script, go and visit truthtellers.co.uk.
It's not for me to say you love me.